All right, welcome everyone to the very first episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy. And I am delighted to have with me here my very first guest for this series, none other than Mike from Mike's Book Reviews. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Well, dear Dr. Fantasy, play us a tune. What a great show title. How'd you come up with that one?
Well, in fact, a really clever guy gave me this idea. So, and yeah, no, I have to thank you for that idea. That was fantastic. And as soon as I thought, that's the title.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
You can't go
perfect.
wrong with Steve Winwood, man. I mean, I know that us old fogies, I was like, Philip's my age range. She'll understand this reference. Everybody else been like, what are you talking about? So
Yeah, yeah.
also you sit back
Well,
and wait for my royalty check to come in the mail. It's pretty good.
yeah, yeah. Well, you earned it. You definitely earned it. But yeah, the era of psychedelic rock is definitely one that appeals to me. So I have lots of favorites from that era. And Steve Winwood, man, I mean, you heard me in my sort of feeble attempt to,
Yeah, no, it was great. I think all the
yeah.
comments were like, "Oh crap!" That's the thing. Is like people say that all the time. I was like, "Well, who knew that booktubers could sing? Yeah, we have good talking voices. Who knew that we could sing too? You know, we just try not to. I don't do it on camera, but Philip apparently has no problem doing it.
Well, I think I have less to lose because I suspect that you're actually a much better singer than I am. So I just, and I actually thought about doing it because Steve Winwood has such that range, and I was
Yeah.
like, can I actually hit that note? And I could fake it with a falsetto there a little bit, that opening sequence of notes, and then I'll just sort of wing it. I thought about lowering it an octave, but I
I
thought,
would have.
if I'm gonna make a fool of myself, I might as well just go all the way, right? So
I
yeah.
think it went over pretty well, and no camera cuts or nothing, guys. So there's no studio
Oh,
magic involved there. He did that all for real on the
oh
fly.
yeah, no,
Impressive.
no, like auto correcting on
Yeah.
the voice or
No
anything.
auto tune.
No auto tune, yeah. I think they could tell, but anyway. But yeah, so I do want to thank you for that great title. That is a lot of fun, and I'm hoping this will be a long-term thing. I want to do this like once a month or so. It seems like the right sort of thing to do here. So it's going to be a lot of fun just to get together with my friends on BookTube and have some chats and talk about the stuff we love to talk about, the books and I'm even watching a television series these days. Can you believe it?
You are okay.
I
Okay.
am. I'm watching the Wheel of Time television
Oh,
series.
that's right. I have a feeling that might come up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, that's going to come up, either now or later. But I'm not usually one who. Usually, I'm the guy who rents the DVDs from the library like a year or two after everybody's seen it. So,
Well, then you moved on from VHS, so I'm proud of you.
yes. Although I do still have a VHS machine in my home.
Least surprising thing ever. Is it right next to your 8-track player?
Yes. So yeah, yeah, but no, I love the Dear Dr. Fantasy. That era of music is fantastic.
Absolutely.
I know you're a big fan of well, you've got your shirt on right now. Let it be. I mean, that's perfect. I'm a big fan of the Beatles. I was very into the Beatles when I was in high school, and that never goes away. I'm very proud of the fact that my daughters both love the Beatles. So
Got to
great
pay
era.
that forward. Yeah, I was watching the Get Back documentary, and now my wife's telling our I don't want to say her name, but our Amazon device, because she'll start talking to me
Oh,
to play Beatles music all the time, and I'm like, haha, I got her, But yeah, the kids. There's something on Netflix called Beat Bugs, which is just kids programming
yeah.
where they sing songs and it's all Beatles songs. So my kids call the Beatles the Beat Bugs. So
Oh,
it works
that's
out.
cute. So how is I haven't seen the
That was
documentary yet.
fantastic. It's just
Yeah.
brilliant. It's one of those things that if you're one of those people who love to see like just musical geniuses work like a fly on the wall, it's amazing just watching them come up with stuff. I mean, Paul writes Get Back and Let It Be like on a whim. It's like
That's so
incredible. And
awesome.
just the chemistry between those guys, all four of them was just like incredible. So
Yeah, pretty cool. And am I right in thinking that Peter Jackson is
yeah,
somehow?
Peter Jackson. Yes, this is his second 9-hour long trilogy about four lads, doing
Ah,
some impossible odds, So it's a really,
yeah.
really good job by him. But yeah, they cleaned it up. I mean, it just looks brand new. It looks amazing.
Wow, I got to check that out. Yeah, for sure. Where is it
It's
available?
on Disney
Oh,
Plus.
Disney Plus. Okay.
Disney Plus, yeah.
I'll have to figure
Which is
out.
amazing to me because there's a lot of bad language in it. So
Is that right? Oh,
House of
okay.
the Mouse let a
Well,
few things fly, and they're smoking like crazy. So they had the big warnings about language and tobacco use and stuff all at the beginning. But
oh yeah, yeah.
it's the
Well,
'60s. Everybody smoked.
yeah.
Doctors smoked.
I don't know how much of that is actually tobacco either, but
Yeah.
But
Well, watch some of John Lennon's mannerisms in that. You might be onto something there. So
yeah. No, it was interesting because I heard a little bit about it when I was listening to the radio. Someone was interviewing Paul McCartney. I don't know if you know NPR, but there's Terry Gross has a regular show on NPR, and she was interviewing Paul McCartney, which is really cool to hear him interviewed. And he was telling how they went through this period of, psychedelic rock. It was just this period of heavy drug use, and then eventually they all just sort of like, all right, we had enough of this, and they went to detox. They went off to India and met a guru there, and
the Maharishi,
did all the meditating and stuff like that. And so he described that as their sort of getting cleansed, I guess, period after all that bit of partying. So yeah.
It was the 60s. It was rather normal, guys. It was like us, trying like, sugar-free cola or something now. It was, everybody was trying it out. Why not?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I got to watch that. I'm looking forward to it because I am also, like I said, I was a huge Beatles fan when I was in high school, and got that, never really got rid of that one because they're fantastic. I mean, you just can't beat the Beatles. For me, they're the iconic rock group of all time.
That's it. Best songwriting duo of all time, Lennon McCartney. That's it.
Yeah. Although I will say George Harrison produced some of my favorites too.
Yeah, his solo records are just amazing too.
Yeah. I like George Harrison's, just his influence on the group and some of the ones that he wrote.
The guy brought a sitar into the band and it worked. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with a sitar, man. So
works out great.
Yeah. No, didn't he wrote Norwegian Wood? Is that right? That's one of my favorites.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'll probably be corrected on this, but I think he did. But anyway, he wrote several. While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Something's a really big one by him. Something's a favorite.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I will check it out for sure. So, and I guess we could talk Wheel of Time then. I mean, I know that you guys, I want to thank you actually, because you and Madison, first of all, I'm just so impressed with her and how knowledgeable she is about the books, and how, because I'm talking with AP about the series, as you know, and we're having a great time. But I read these books like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I can't remember exactly. It was a while back. So I'm a little fuzzy on some of the details, on some of the recall is not quite there the way I would want it to be. But Madison is like, yeah, she's just this, she's got it all down. I'm impressed with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got someone on there that was dumber than me when it comes to recollecting these things. I think there's things that I've forgotten and she remembered, but we do have like a text thread when we're watching the show to kind of help each other remember some things that each other forgot. So we don't look like complete fools.
Yeah,
on this podcast, but yeah,
I don't mind looking like a fool myself. So
we both read them for the first time in 2019, so we're moderately fresh on them. But it's one of those things of just watching the show just made us remember how much we love this series. So us, we're always positive, and I think that there's a lot of negative. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of negativity on YouTube because negativity does seem to drive traffic, apparently.
I don't quite get that, but yeah,
I have heard this. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people that are leaving, comments about, oh, you guys were crazy. You guys are just like coping. I'm like, sounds like they're the one coping. We're fine with it. Yeah. But there's a lot of people that are like saying, thank you for being positive about this. There's like no one I can go to right now that's being positive about this. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah. That's weird to me that people, it just seems so weird that we're doing this as a hobby. We love these books. We love the fantasy genre. We love stuff related to it, television shows. We're trying to have a good time. And then people are just kind of weird about that. And AP and I have been pretty positive. And I will say that I think the show really improved with the 4th episode and the 5th even better. Like it's getting better and better. And I'm like,
yeah,
wow.
I didn't expect to be this good in season 1. I expected there to be a lot more struggles in a season 1 than this. I think that 2-year break of post-production because of COVID, but really helped it a lot.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's for me, and I know you're going to talk, I haven't watched your it's out, I noticed, but I haven't watched yet your take on the 5th episode with Madison. But I just thought, what they did differently in the 4th and the 5th episodes for me was they paused. They had some quiet moments. They had the characters kind of pairing off and having some conversations rather than just the rush of the first 3 episodes really threw me. And I thought, this is just bad editing and very jumpy, very abrupt transitions, and I didn't like it. I mean, maybe because I'm old. I don't know. It's
I think those first couple of episodes, I was just kind of in awe that, wow, this is really coming to life. I really like the castings. I really feel like, okay, these feel like these characters. I was afraid they were going to change some of these characters so much I wasn't going to recognize them and stuff like that. I knew they were. I like to look at these things with the adaptation. I think that's why it doesn't bother me that much. Is with adaptation, I like to look at it through a showrunner or director's eyes and be like, okay, why would you realistically make this choice? And we knew they were going to have to do some things to get non-readers, because I know people think that this is all for the book fans. It's not, guys. No, it won't make it with just the book fans. It's got to have some casual audiences too. So you got to find that kind of that balance in the middle somewhere. Yeah. So I knew they were going to speed things up. We weren't going to spend 3 episodes in Emmons Field. We weren't going to do that. So I do think that first episode would have benefited if it had been like an hour and 20 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, I think, because it did seem, wow, they're really leaving Emmons Field quick. So I knew they were kind of going to do that and let us slide. But I think, like I said, this first couple episodes, I was kind of just like in awe. Oh my God, this is finally happening. We've been talking, since I started this channel, I've been talking about this show coming. Yeah. And so finally seeing it, but we're not rewatching my wife. I did see some of the things that I was like, okay, yeah, that probably could have done better. But again, I expected a lot worse in these first couple of episodes. Cause it takes shows like this. It takes even Game of Thrones probably until like season 3 to really just find its stride, So yeah. The people that are saying, oh, it's just terrible. I'm like, you guys are spoiled. You don't remember what bad fantasy adaptation looks like.
Hello, look at the adaptation of Ursula Le Guin's Earthsea.
Earthsea and Legend of the Seeker. Oh,
yeah, come on.
Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really bad fantasy adaptations out there.
You can tell who's only watched Game of Thrones. I think they're a little spoiled, maybe.
I think that might be the problem. Yeah, that might be it. But and even Game of Thrones visually, if you go back and watch the first season, it wasn't as sophisticated as the later seasons.
People think that Game of Thrones was like this huge hit from day one, guys. I was one of those like just out there nonstop campaigning for people to watch because I wanted the show to get at least to the Red Wedding. Right. So it wasn't even a sure thing after before when season 2 was in the middle of season 2. They're like, HBO doesn't know if they can justify spending this much money on the show with less than 1 million viewers. So wow, it grew over time. So I think that Wheel of Time already has a bigger. I think Amazon saying they had high expectations, already kind of surpassed that. So
that's fantastic.
I'm encouraged. So so many new viewers, what I call new viewers, are people who haven't read the books. Right. Episode 4 was the people that were like kind of like on the edge, and they're like, well, I'm in now, And my wife, who hasn't read it, I'm just listening to her theories. I'm just like, this is so fun, So
that is cool. I'm watching it with my wife and my younger daughter, and they haven't read the books either. So
are they interested in it? No.
Yeah, no, they're kind of hooked, and they totally agree. Episode 4 is where it just sort of happened. It was like,
wow. I mean, are they interested in reading it now?
Oh, maybe my younger daughter. My older daughter actually has read the series. Nice. Back when we read them at the same time. It's one of those things that I did.
I wish I could do stuff like that. My kids are like, I ain't got time for that. Yeah.
Well, eventually. But my older daughter and I read The Wheel of Time at the same time when she was in high school. So that actually was, oh my gosh, probably 8 or 9 years ago then. Yeah, at least. So yeah, it's longer than I thought, but anyway, yeah. So that's cool. And I do think that, you can always nitpick about stuff. Sure. Visually. I mean, there are moments where I'm like, oh, that CGI is a little, but honestly, I'm impressed for the most part with what I'm seeing. And I'm liking now much more the editing choices and the fact that we're getting, they're taking their time with some really cool stuff that's developing the characters and the relationships and stuff. And I think that's smart, and that's going to bring in new people because some of my favorite moments are not even in the books, I think it's been so long, I might be misremembering, but some of the stuff they choose to focus on isn't necessarily what you would have expected if you're just a book fan, but they have to do that. It's a different medium. They can't just, completely stick to the script, which is, AKA the book, because it won't work.
I told people 2 years ago, this is not going to be a page adaptation. No way. Everybody flipped out on me about it. Now it's out, and I'm like, I told you. They can't.
They can't. It wouldn't work. It would be a disaster if they tried.
Well, they have a plan for 8 seasons. I was like, guys, there's 15 books if you count New Spring.
Right.
Basic math dictates they're not going to do page for page adaptation here. So
no way. I mean, even if you look at some of the fantasy adaptations that have been closer, like the Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter book and film. That's, there are lines straight out of the book. It's more close, but as you progress in the films, they had to make more and more cuts. They had to do more and more things different, just because of sheer length. I mean, the world you get in the book is I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. You can't put a lot of that stuff. You just have to put in quickly visually and hope that people catch it, or you just have to skip over it. So they're going to skip. I anticipate that what a lot of people call the slog, in the middle books, is going to be just chopped. I would guess.
Yeah, I kind of joked about it. I was like, show fans or book fans before this were saying, "Oh yeah, the slog, they got to really kind of like trim that down." I was like, "Yeah, but when it comes out, it'll be cut down to like one season. You guys will be like, how dare they?" But then other people were joking in my Discord, like, one season? How about one episode? I'm like, damn.
Yeah. So
let's hope they get that far, because that means it's doing well.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I want all these fantasy shows, like people complain about Witcher the same way. And I was like, I want these all to do well, because that means we're gonna get more of them. There's other fantasy series I would love to see adapted. Would you not like to see an adaptation of First Law somewhere? I mean, think about it. That would be incredible, right? So we're gonna get more stuff like that. Just like we did with the superhero boom, and they realized, hey, there's an audience for this. They'll actually watch them. So of course I want these things to do well.
Of course. We all should be rooting, no matter how you feel about the series. Okay. And I consider myself a fan. I'm not like a hardcore fan where if you say something negative about it, I get upset. I'm not like one of those.
No, this ain't Tolkien, but I it is beloved to me. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So I'm a fan. And, but regardless of how you feel about the series and Jordan and Sanderson's writing, you should be rooting. If you're a fantasy fan, you should be rooting for this show to succeed. Absolutely. Yeah. Because we want more of this sort of thing, and it's good for the genre. And it does, I think, bring in readers as well. So
and that means hopefully Dark Tower will get made somewhere.
Yeah, I would love to. I would definitely watch that. So we won't talk about the film because I know it's not your favorite.
I don't. What film? It's never happened. I've been waiting my whole life. There's no Dark Tower movie yet. Amazing.
So it's interesting to me, though, that you talk about some of the weird interactions with some of the people leaving, I guess. You feel like those are coming from like super fans of the books?
The type. I mean, it's not always, and I don't try to be like broad generalization guy. Definitely not, because I do feel like most of the book fandom is happy, because they just it's one of those things. Like, you got to go back and remember, guys, when I was a big time Song of Ice and Fire fan years before that show came out. And that first season, everybody complained. All the book fans complained Tyrion was too handsome. The Stark kids are too cute. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Anything you could think of. Everything looks cheap. Everything looks corny, cheesy dialogue. I mean, people didn't love it right away. When Fellowship of the Ring came out, I was so excited. And then I get in there and talk to this is back when we had to get on like message boards. You guys remember message boards on the internet? Yeah, we had to do like that. It was like Reddit before Reddit. And all these book fans are just pissed off because there's no Tom Bombadil and things like that, And I was like, I don't care. Like how amazing that movie was. So people are always going to be upset, and it's going to be a small contingent. They're always upset, but I think they're the loudest. But I think, there are some people on the that leave some comments that are, mad about stuff that's ridiculous, as like, oh, Rand dropped his bow one time. Like, what? Things like that. And I'm just like, I don't care, but I can understand if this is like your religion. I've read this once. It is something you have ate, slept, and drank since the womb. I get it. But I don't think that gives anyone the right to come on and tell Madison or myself that, oh, well, you're just not as big of a fan as I am, or it's not as important to you as it is to me. And I'm like, what? That's the gatekeeping 101 right there, So,
yeah, that's sad, actually.
But, we put ourselves out in public like this, you're going to get some comments like that.
Oh, yeah, we probably will get some on this even. But but the fact is, I think it helps to think of these as two different stories. Wheel of Time, the books, and Wheel of Time, the show. It's not the same story. So my advice, at least, is don't get upset, because I was like you with Lord of the Rings. Okay, when the films came out, and what was it, 2001, the first film?
2001, 2, and 3.
So Fellowship of the Ring, I was nervous because I was a very hardcore.
I was in the theater nervous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Up to the moment it started, I was dreading it, thinking they're gonna screw it up. They're gonna mess it up. And 5 minutes in, and I was like, they did it. I'm like, I'm in the Shire, It was, and I don't care, like you. No Tom Bombadil, fine. No scouring the Shire later on. Okay, I can live with that. It's not a big deal. It's not the same story. Okay, so it's inspired by, right?
Mhm.
It's not going to be the same thing, and it can't be. And if they tried to make it the same, it would be terrible
Yeah.
because it's a different medium. So
Yeah, I try to tell people like, oh, they're not saying like blood and bloody ashes and you wool-headed fox herd and stuff like that. They're not saying stuff like that. It's like you don't understand that like non-book readers will find that stuff so cringe. It just
yeah,
doesn't work on a big medium like this. And
yeah,
they're trying to rope in casual. They're trying. When they said I want the next Game of Thrones, people assume, yeah, but they wanted to show just like Game of Thrones. What he's saying is he wants to show that it's just like the big pop culture thing, like Game of Thrones was. And he wants to get that audience that has that Game of Thrones sized hole in their heart to
right.
watch the show. I think that's what Bezos meant by it. So, but as far as adaptation goes, guys, what I try to tell people was they're not running your room and ripping the books off your shelf. You'll live. For me with adaptation, change some things, it's fine. If you don't change those big moments, like if they change who the Dragon Reborn is or something, sure, I'll be flipping tables, but outside of that, I don't care. I don't care because I never expected it to be as good as it is. Honestly, I thought this was going to be a dumpster fire up until like 6 months ago when I saw the teaser. So
yeah. No, I was skeptical. I'm very skeptical, and I'm happy for the fans who are enjoying it. The really, because the people I know on BookTube who are really into Wheel of Time seem to be really happy with the show, as far as I can tell. And it's not that they're totally uncritical either,
we have criticisms, but we're just like, hey, the good massively outweighs the bad at this point. But I've been reading this since 1990 guy, that's the guy that's not going to be satisfied probably.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's too bad, because I think with that kind of purism doesn't allow, it can inhibit you from actually just relaxing and enjoying something.
So,
kind of what happened,
like what I just did with Dune. I went into that like nervous. Exactly. I'm really nervous because I knew that the director loved the book, like a Bible to him. So I knew that he had creative control, he had final cut, so it wasn't going to be a 1984 problem again. So I was confident in it. But I won't lie, there's things I'm like, oh, I don't like that they did that and stuff like that, because 9 out of 10 things I'm just like I imagine in my head, So I've just witnessed too many bad Stephen King adaptations, guys. I think I've become more grounded when it comes to expectations, when it comes to adaptation.
Interesting thing too, like you said, that's amazing to me that 90% of it was what was in your head too, because that's the other thing about adaptations.
Everybody's got a different headcanon.
Yeah, that's the thing. So your vision of Paul or of the sandworms or whatever is not going to be the same as mine. Now they'll probably be very similar since we've read the book.
Yeah, but yours is wrong. I'm kidding.
So that's the thing, though. What you're seeing there is somebody's vision of the story, and it's not even the story. It is an adaptation. So it's a different story, and it's somebody else's vision. You're never going to get exactly what you thought. I'm like watching that Dune thing and I'm thinking, this is cool. I'm enjoying this guy's, vision of this story and his version of it. And I was really pleased with Dune. Actually, I thought that it was a brilliant film. I was even more enthusiastic about Dune than I am about the Wheel of Time show, actually, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. Dune's the biggest thing that happened for me this year, not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, that was a great film. I enjoyed every bit of it. I know I had some people like the similar thing we were talking about with Wheel of Time. I had some people, because I did a discussion of it with AP, and I had some people come to my channel to vent, who were obviously big time fans of
we
the
got
books.
them too.
Yeah, which is okay, fine. I responded saying, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it the way I did, and it sounds like you really loved the book, so I'm sure that was disappointing, that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, it's that. The fact is, it's not going to be the same, right? So yeah.
And your book's always going to be there, guys. It's always going to be there. And remember, it can
always
be worse. Watch like Pet Sematary 2019. That's how to do adaptation wrong, you guys. Okay. So.
Yeah, it's scary how bad. A lot of authors have been traumatized by adaptations of their books, So like Ursula Le Guin with the Earthsea thing. She was.
Or Stephen King sued to have his name taken off of the Lawnmower Man. It was so bad.
Oh my goodness! Wow, he's had some good ones too, though. Of course. Yeah.
Shawshank's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah. Shawshank is maybe one of the most popular films of all time. So we'll see. But yeah, Dune.
You're resuming Dark Tower soon, right?
I am. Yeah. So I'm kind of getting toward the tail end of Toll the Hounds, and then I'm picking up Wizard and Glass.
So that's taking you a little longer than usual. A usual Malazan book does, right?
Yeah. So yeah, this is, I mean, probably a good topic for us to talk about, because you're right now in Reaper's Gale.
I have only read the prologue.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, look at that big boy. I mean, geez. I started reading this Godblind series by Anna Stevens.
I want to read that. I want to read that, actually.
It's not First Law, but I think First Law fans will like it. If that makes sense.
Okay.
But this, I read the prologue and I was like, well, I'm almost done with this one. Let me finish that one, then I'll get back to it. But yeah, another Malazan prologue where I'm like,
I mean, a Malazan prologue is like another novel in a way.
Yeah, basically. But I'm not telling you you're reading too slow. I'm just saying usually you've been blowing through these pretty fast. Toll the Hounds is taking you a little bit. So
it's
I got that to
taking me a
look
while.
forward to.
Yeah, I think, Mike, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think you're going to end up liking Reaper's Gale. I don't know if it would be your favorite in the series. I doubt that. I predict that you'll have a tough time getting through Toll the Hounds.
I've heard that a lot.
I would predict that, just as a friend. I'm saying this as a friend.
Sure.
I want you to have the right expectations. It is the one. Is this a spoiler? I don't think this is a spoiler. Well, I won't say it just in case. But
I've heard people tell me that Toll the Hounds is their favorite book, and I've had people tell me it's their least favorite book. So I realize when it comes to divisive, some people use that word divisive and they don't really mean it. This one sounds divisive.
So the people who really love Erickson's exploration of human issues, of sorrow, and
so you're saying it's philosophical,
grief, and yeah, okay. If you want to use the P word, it's philosophical more so than the what's come before. I love it, but I have to read it slowly. I have to read Toll the Hounds slowly because I feel like I'm soaking in so much, and it's immersive for me, but it's not a read that I can blow through. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that you felt like you would go fast when you're reading Malazan, particularly at the end, I think, of most books, they have these convergences, and usually there's some, there's often a military component there, or some, form of
just break that mold.
Yeah. This kind of breaks the mold. So Toll the Hounds is a more steady, stately read for me. And I'm moved by it. It's incredible. It's a book that I think maybe more than any other Malazan book, maybe more than any other fantasy book, is so helpful in terms of grappling with what it means to grieve. So it's about grieving. It's about loss. It's about, it's also about life too, though. I don't want to make it sound like it's totally depressing. But so it's just in the, I'm trying to be vague in general here, but I do think you will find it to be the slowest of the 10.
Well, I do love God Emperor of Dune by Frank Herbert. And that's apparently the most philosophical book in the world. And that one is the big divisive one amongst Dune fans. So maybe I like it, but God Emperor Dune is also about 600 pages shorter than Toll the Hounds is. So there's that.
It's a big book. And the last 4 Malazan books are the biggest.
I've talked looking at it, it's like they just get bigger. The last 4 just get bigger. Great.
I think Memories of Ice is around the same ballpark, but then other than that, the last 4 are the biggest books. Yeah. In terms of word count, never mind how thick the book is, it's word count you got to pay attention to. And
saying that you happen to read it kind of slowly. I feel like I got to read all the Malazan books pretty so, which I know some people are like, oh wow, you read that in 2 weeks. I mean, that was pretty slow for me, I guess. But
yeah,
I can't believe I blew through Bone Hunters in like 9 days, but I felt like that was the most page turnery one of all of them yet. So
yeah, that has 2 climaxes really.
Yeah,
you've got Yucatan, and then you've got Malaz City. So that book went fast enough for me too. Yeah. For sure. Reaper's Gale I loved. By the end, I think you're gonna like Reaper's Gale.
It's got Karsa punching people in the face. I'm here for it. Okay. Yeah. That's what I need. That's my guy right now.
Yeah. No, he's a character that brings in a lot of fans for sure.
Very, very Conan inspired, in my opinion. I love that. Conan's one of my favorite literary characters ever created. So I see a lot of that influence there. And I've actually read Erickson's article about the Conan and Karsa, I think is what he called it.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, yeah, that's pretty
What'd
cool.
you think of the article?
It reading anything by Erickson is always okay. If I can't breeze through this, I got to slow down and read this slowly. But yeah, it's very well thought out, well paced. And you know, I'm very interested to find out what it's like. We are supposed to be having a discussion soon, me and Mr.
Oh,
Erickson.
that is so great to hear.
Yeah. Our first one we're going to do is non-spoiler because, you know, would like to get more people interested in the series. And then after I complete the series, we're going to get back together and just kind of talk some spoilers and stuff. So
I am so glad to hear. I mean, I knew it would happen eventually, but it's so
I wanted to get to him before we started Bone Hunters, and just, you know, Facebook Messenger is kind of unreliable. So got in touch via email now, and we're having better communication than Facebook Messenger is. But you know,
good. Yeah. No, that is fantastic, and he is so so gracious, and you know, it's I've always found it, you know, the few times that I've had the opportunity to talk with him, it's been so just I've kind of been amazed at how much I learn while I'm talking to him. And he's very low key about it, but the guy's just full of insights.
That's how I feel when I talk to AP. I feel like I'm in class.
Yeah.
I'm learning stuff.
Although that would be a very fun class.
Sure. Yeah, both you guys would. I think you both would be great teachers. You guys should do that.
Yeah, we should try it out, right?
But no, I'm looking forward to talking to him. But it'll be hard to kind of not go off topic and ask him his opinion on the new Star Trek, because I would love to hear that.
Oh, he will. He will totally go off topic. If you want him to, he will go on. He will talk about Star Trek. And if you got AP on there with him, they would just keep talking about Star Trek and nothing else, because they have Star Trek opinions.
It's all downhill since Deep Space Nine for me, but you know.
Yeah, I was a fan of the original series because when I was a kid in the 70s,
I watched reruns. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched the reruns as a kid in the 70s, and that was like staple TV for me.
Do you remember when Next Generation came out and it was like people rioting because it didn't have Kirk and Spock in it? They didn't want it to happen. Now it's a lot of people's favorite version is Next Generation. Star Trek fans are wild, man.
I saw some. I was not as faithful at that point because I wasn't watching a lot of TV then. But I saw episodes of it. I thought it was pretty good. That was the iteration after the original series. Right?
Yeah, Captain Picard. Yeah,
Picard. Yeah, who's a great. I mean, Patrick Stewart. Come on, he's brilliant.
That's why I say it's just funny to look back in hindsight, and people always be like, "Oh, our fandom isn't toxic," and I'm like, "Yeah, aren't you the guys that were like holding like rallies to get Next Generation canceled before it even aired?" So I was like, every fandom's got this, guys. Every fandom has that loud vocal group who everything is sacred and you can't touch it. It's sooner you accept it, I think, the better.
What is that, though? I mean, let's talk about that if you don't mind for a bit.
What things you're just fanatical about? I mean, I think that Dune might be the only fandom I've ever been a part of where it's just the most chill, laid back, freaking people that are just like, hey, hey, cool. There's movies coming out, even if it's not what I wanted. At least it'll get more people to read the book. That's kind of how we are. Whereas everyone else is like, let's fight. I don't know. I think that's just the mentality that we have right now in the social media age, is that maybe you can say something nasty without having to worry about any repercussion from anybody punching you in the face, Right. So it's just gotten to the point where people can't really palaver at all. They just want to fight, So I think that's where it comes from. And again, it's the loudest vocal minority that it just seems like that. And I hate that it kind of gives fandoms a bad name. Because a lot of people will just say, oh, that fandom's just like how people treat Star Wars fans now. Oh, they're just terrible, because they are loud and they will let you know how they feel. I know I'm one of them, so.
Well, it's weird, though, because I feel like the vast majority of fans of you name it, whatever it is, I don't care, Malazan or, Stormlight Archive or Dune or whatever, the vast majority of fans are perfectly healthy people who I think don't necessarily take it personally when you say, I didn't like that. Or, if I said to you, I didn't really enjoy Dune, which of course, is not true. But if I said, I thought Dune was not a great book, you wouldn't get upset, would you? You wouldn't yell at me, or you wouldn't.
No, everything's subjective, especially Dune. I tell people all the time, Dune's a book that I expect more people to dislike than actually like. So, I accepted that a long time ago. It's a different kind of book,
So what is it in the psychology of people who, when you criticize their sacred book,
they feel like it's a child to them. They feel like they got to protect. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. When someone comes and be like, oh, Tolkien's overrated trash, I can't stand it. I'm like, all right, you can say you don't like it. It's like when people say, oh, younger audiences come and say, oh, I don't get the stuff with the Beatles. They were so overrated. I'm like, look, brother, you may not like them, but do not call them underrated, you know?
Right.
Or overrated. Sorry. They were underrated, you know? So I kind of get that, wanting to feel like you're protecting a small child or something because you grew up with it. You know, that's like your thing. But
I get
that's what I base
that.
my channel on. It's okay if you have a different opinion. Let's talk about why you don't like it, other than just it's cringe. Well, why? Yeah, it just sucks. Okay.
I get that, but you have these different parts of your brain, right? You have this part called the amygdala, which is the fight or flight, which is that's the part that's talking when the fans are getting really mad at you because you didn't like their favorite character or whatever. And then there's this prefrontal cortex here, which is supposed to override the amygdala, when you're not really needing to get all that angry about something like that. So you're supposed to have that rational part of your head that says, you know what, it doesn't hurt me that this person doesn't like my favorite character, right? So
now you're a brain surgeon too. I mean, what can't you do, my man? Jeez. Impressive.
Well, you wouldn't want me doing brain surgery on you, trust me.
I feel like I should be taking notes here. All right. I don't know. Like I said, I think a big part of it is just this era of social media, being able to be behind a keyboard,
right?
Because I think of half the stuff that people say, and I'm like, there's no way they would say that to you if they were sitting across from you, Right. So it's just something you just got to get used to, I think.
I guess. I mean, it's a shame though that
it makes fandoms look bad, and you got to realize that isn't the majority of the fandom. Does it feel like that majority of the fandom right now is overjoyed that there are new people discovering Wheel of Time,
Right.
Great. It's easier sell for them now. It's how I felt when Witcher came out. It's how I felt when Game of Thrones came out. It's how I felt when Fellowship of the Ring came out. And people that I always knew that were like, oh, I don't like fantasy. And then they saw the movie and like, oh, okay, well, damn, that's pretty interesting. Now I want to read this, I mean, I think Game of Thrones was more responsible for that, getting people who didn't like fantasy to cross over for the first time, So I'm always just excited that people are picking up the books. I mean, for me at the end, that's goal of my channel, get more people to read,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So George Martin, I mean, people get mad at him all the time because he hasn't finished the series, but he's done a lot for the genre. He's done a lot for the genre just by having that, even if it's never complete, that series has had a tremendous impact on the genre.
If Song of Ice and Fire didn't get adapted and Game of Thrones wasn't a hit, we wouldn't be watching Wheel of Time every Friday right now.
That's right. That's right. You better believe it. Yep. So, I mean, we owe George a lot just for that,
I can be frustrated, but I will also call it like one of my 3 favorite fantasy series of all time. And it's not even complete. So
that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that just the fact that you would even say that tells you about the quality of the series. Even incomplete, you could rank it there. Yeah. I mean, and
the way that people are right now with the book purists with Wheel of Time, that's how I was when season 1 of Game of Thrones came out. I'm like, all right, well, I mean, he didn't actually say it like that, but okay,
Yeah.
But I was also just overjoyed that there were new people talking about this series that I loved. So
I feel like we've also gotten, I hope, over the reaction period when you have something really popular that does really well, and then there's this sort of knee-jerk reaction that happens. Oh, actually, it's crap,
I talked about this with Mandalorian. It seems like with Mandalorian, when Mandalorian was first breaking out and it was doing very well, every week, oh my God, this is the best thing since Empire Strikes Back. It's amazing. By Tuesday, they're like, oh, well, actually, that episode had a lot of problems. And then by Thursday, like, this show doesn't get better. I'm not watching anymore. And then Friday again, oh, it's the best thing since Empire. It's just a cycle every week. It's just like, why are you talking yourselves out of things that you like?
Wow.
What's the Pruder filming everything? Just enjoy stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like a popular thing to crap all over A Song of Ice and Fire there for a while. And you couldn't make a lot of content.
I didn't make any content until like this year for Song of Ice and Fire, because it just everything was still this last season of the show sucked. Well, actually the last 3 seasons of the show sucked, and everything that you've made a video about would have been about how the show sucked. So I was made it very explicit. I want to talk about the books again. So but it didn't help. It's still just nothing but complaining about the show in the comments. So.
Yeah. No, the books are excellent. I like them a lot. And I didn't even really get that upset when he split the books, when they had.
I was upset because I had to wait 5 years between those, but I was like, wow, so I just waited a decade for a new Tyrion chapter, but
5 years doesn't seem that long now.
It doesn't now. No, it does not. It does not. Especially since I don't know about you, but every time I ask that to Amazon device to play an album, and she says, now playing this, and she's like 30th anniversary edition. I'm like, will you stop that?
Yeah, for sure.
Time goes by quick, guys. Hang on to it.
Yeah, that's for sure. You mentioned The Witcher. Now I've read the first two short story collections,
Mhm.
and I want to keep reading. It's one of these series that I've got sort of on the back burner because I'm
Same.
Malazan is going on and all this other stuff. It's like I have several that I could talk about with you. One is Dresden Files. I'm up to 4 in that. I'm finished 4. But The Witcher is another one that I'm sort of in the middle of or stalled in a way, and I will resume it when I can. But I
Same
am
same
curious.
boat.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Same boat. I started reading book 2, which I guess is not the short story books, but if you're starting Blood of Elves is book 1.
Yeah.
Second book with Time of Contempt, I got about a third into it. And I think it was just at the time, I wasn't feeling what the guy was right. He was talking about like poll taxes and shit. And I was like, I don't want to read about this right now. And I said, so I don't end up hate reading this. I'm going to take a break. Was not a DNF, but I haven't went back to it yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
I said, as long as I stay ahead of the Netflix series, I think I'll do it that way. So this season of the show is going to be Blood of Elves.
Oh, that
So
would be a good excuse for me to read Blood of Elves too, then, because that's where I am. I've read the 2 short story collections because I listened to people on YouTube and who said, because I was talking about reading in the series, and they said you have to read the short story
yeah,
collections
they're
first.
great. Mhm.
And they're good. I really like them, and I'm glad I listened to people because I felt like it gave me a real good sense of the characters and the world and some of the stuff that Sapkowski does. I wish I could read it in Polish, of course, but I don't read Polish. So
I think the translation is pretty good, but I only have that to compare it to, So
yeah,
I don't know. I've heard
yeah.
a lot of viewers I have that, which is amazing how many viewers I have that speak 3-4 languages, and I'm like, well, I can speak about 300 words in Spanish, but that's
Yeah.
about it. But yeah, but we don't all speak Gaelic like you do, so hey, you
Yeah,
can't
well,
relate.
I don't speak Gaelic, but I do speak Welsh, which is a Celtic
Mm.
language. So yeah, yeah. The thing is, I don't speak any of them particularly well. I used to be able to. I was pretty good in Welsh at one time when I lived. I was in Wales for a little while and learning it there. And I picked up French and German and some other languages too over the years, but a bit of Spanish. But I'm not. I can have good conversations with like 4-year-olds, So
Well, I don't know about your comments, but my comments, I'm convinced that a lot of English speakers can't speak English too well.
Oh, yes.
That.
Well, there is that. Yeah. We'll give them a pass because it's social media. You don't have to be perfect, I guess.
So
But
Dark Tower, I'm going to keep angling you back to this because I'm anxious for you
yeah.
to continue. One of my biggest pleasant surprises this year is how much that you're liking that, because I think when people go into Dark Tower, I think they have a really, really opinion one way or the other on it. And while I do think the first 4 books are the best of the series, I'm glad you're liking it this much, because I think that
Oh, I love it.
book 4 is where a lot of Stephen King fans that read Dark Tower, they aren't real hardcore fantasy fans. So book 4 is the first one that really leans hard into the fantasy. So that loses a lot of them. And it loses a lot of them because it's like a 450-page flashback. Personally, for me, I was waiting to hear more about Roland. So I'm excited to see what you think. I think you're going to love it.
It sounds like a win for me because I love fantasy. So I'm obviously not going to be bothered by it taking that turn toward fantasy. And B, I love the character. Roland is one of the most iconic characters
Absolutely.
in literature. Let's not even stick it into a genre here because it's hard to stick into a genre, but in literature, Roland is so iconic. He is such a cool character. That was a surprise to me. I have to be honest with you. I had this snobbish idea that Stephen King couldn't possibly be a great writer because he's so popular, and I was an idiot. So I'm glad to discover this guy can write. This guy's good. He knows how to write.
Sarah,
characters.
you want to get Sarah hot? Tell her that Stephen King writes schlock. Sarah will let you know what's up.
Sarah, yeah, I wouldn't want to get Sarah upset there. Yeah, yeah. No, the fact that she also is a King fan should tell people something because she's brilliant and she understands human psychology really well. And that's what King is. He's a great character writer because he gets this. He understands people, and he portrays us in a way that is just unflinching, that you don't see a lot of writers do. Maybe because they don't quite get it, or maybe they don't want to go there. But King goes there, and that is something that I find it fascinating. So yeah, the first 3 books of that series have me already rating it in my top 10 fantasy.
Yeah, I think people get upset with book 4 is because a character like Eddie, who's a very popular character, you don't get very much because it's a flashback of Roland. So you're you're basically getting this new quartet that, you've kind of heard him mention some names, Elaine, Cuthbert, things like that along the way. So for me, again, I wanted to know that story, but I get the people who were like, okay, well, I like this new group with Jake and Eddie, so I want some of them. And they're just listening the whole book, so it's rough for some people, but you get your conclusion of Blaine the Insane Mono Train, so
Good.
there's that. Yeah. So I'm anxious to hear what you think when you get to it.
I'm excited. It sounds like he might be going back to the Browning poem in a way too. The Browning poem that he based it all on, which is the weirdest, trippiest piece of literature from the 19th century. I mean, it's insane. Child Roll into the Dark Tower Came is just a really weird poem. It was psychedelic long before the hippies in the 1960s. So,
let's just say Stephen King was dabbling still at this point. So
yeah,
there was that. So
yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like these are names of characters who appear in some of them in the poem. So
yeah, you'll see names. You're like, oh, I've heard him mention that name in passing before.
Okay.
Yeah, now you get all those answers.
Cool. No, that sounds like a win to me. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, I'm actually really excited to get to it, and I'm just absorbed right now, immersing myself in this slow dance with Toll the Hounds. But I'll finish that in a couple days, and then I will probably 4 days, and then I will start on Wizard and Glass, which is awesome. It's gonna
just in time for Christmas break, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's late this year. I don't know why, for me anyway. I won't be done grading until after Christmas.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. Yeah.
Usually, I'm married to a educator, so I have done my time in helping grade papers, and things like that.
Yeah.
But this year I was like, you got 2 weeks off work. I got no problems with you doing all your grading on your own. So,
That's funny. Just some of my friends tell me, why don't you use the stair method, where you just throw the papers down the stairs, and the ones that land at the top get the highest grade, right?
I think what she did is before the place she was at now, she was at a school where she had to end up doing like 3 preps. So she was just overwhelmed. And so that's why I said, like, that Christmas, I just helped her grade papers for like 3 days straight, because of that. But since then, I'm like, I got no problem being like, do your own job, you got an assistant now. Yeah, because she teaches, now she's teaching ESL, which is English as a second language.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like, yeah, you got an assistant. She can grade your papers for you. It's a teaching assistant. And she was actually complaining that she's not going to have her teaching assistant next semester. I'm like, oh, you poor thing. You're going to have to do your own work. So,
giving her a hard time.
You got to love teachers, but it's fun to bust on them sometimes, but you got to love them. It's a thankless job.
It can be, the best feeling in the world, I got to tell you, is when your student comes up to you at the end of the semester and says something like, before this class, I absolutely hated English. And I just want to tell you that this has really changed me. This has helped me to understand why this is important, why literature is important, what it can do. And I really got something out of this. When that happens to me, I'm like, yeah, I can go another year. I can do this. That's
how I feel about BookTube. Not that it's comparable. I'm just saying, when someone emails me and says, I wasn't reading at all anymore, and I found your channel, reawakened my love for reading after Crayolas and stuff, or I've made their day 1 minute better, man. Look, guys, we don't do this for ad revenue. We do this because we like to talk about books, and hearing something like that, to me, mission accomplished, So I love hearing stuff like that. I can imagine as an educator, that's got to be just like the world.
Oh yeah. Because we don't get paid a lot for doing it either. So you kind of have to love it. And that's what makes me love it, is when
that's me sitting here comparing BookTube to teaching. How stupid am I?
No, you're not. Mike, please. That is actually the best comparison you could make, honestly. Truthfully, what we do here on BookTube, in some ways, it has advantages over what we do in the education system.
We have creative freedom. Yeah, we
have creative freedom. Okay, and you mentioned what you do when you bring readers back, people back into reading. Okay. I wish I had that kind of voice. I have 20 times. I have like 100 students a semester. Okay. You have 60,000 subscribers. There's a big difference there. How many years do I have to teach to reach 60,000 people? Okay. So I get 200 a year. Okay, you do the math because you're better at math than I am. So that's
Not on the weekends. I'm not.
what I'm saying, right? So one of my primary missions is exactly the same as yours. What we do is very similar, actually. So don't ever for a second think that that's a bad comparison, because what we do is very similar. What you bring people to joy of reading, the journey of a book, and I'm trying to do the same thing, and get people to think about it and reflect on it. So I think they're very comparable, except you get to more people than I do as a teacher. And you probably get people because they're not forced to go into this.
Right.
So the people who are on BookTube are there because they want to be there. Maybe they're not readers. Maybe they have the intention of becoming a reader. And they've got this support system here. So you've got an audience, you've got people interacting who want to be here. So it's in that sense, again, I have a captive audience. Nobody signs up for composition because they love writing. I mean, that's just the reality. So what you do is very important and very, very special. And I think it's absolutely a great service. I mean, it's just, we do it because we love it.
Right.
And we love that feeling of people spreading the joy of reading and experiencing stories. So
exactly, guys, and that's why we may fuss about like the ugly comments we get, and sometimes like, guys, it's like 99 to 1, it's all positive.
Absolutely.
And stuff like this, and that's get messages like that. And
absolutely.
I mean, I think the coolest thing I think that's happened to me recently is a professor from Rutgers University emailed me in literature class and saying that he showed them on the big screen up on the room my video of the 14 classics that I loved, to try to get them to convince, because I had five of them that were on the reading list for them to choose from.
Yeah.
And he said so many students were like checking out some books that they had no interest for watching that video. And that just completely blew me away. But that made my day for like a week. That was really awesome. So
that is fantastic. Yeah. I'm absolutely overjoyed that you.
But I only got one view for that. He shows on the big screen, but no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Getting younger people, because I think about those books that they made us read in high school, and a lot of people went to Kicking and Screaming. I liked most of it. I went back to them like, oh God, Great Gatsby. But there are some where I'm like, okay, I wish someone would have kind of put it to the way, this is how I would have put it to them. This is what the book's about. This is why it meant that much to me. And he just said there was people who were interested in. By the way, he had Dune on his reading list, so this might be the greatest teacher ever. By the way.
Oh yeah, well if he's got Dune, then that's an automatic check in his favor, for sure. But Rutgers is right here where I live, and actually I at one time lived at Rutgers, so I'm familiar with the place. But no, that is such a great story, and that's what I'm talking about. So there's no difference between what you're doing and what I'm doing as an educator, except that you don't have to grade anybody. So yay, right?
I don't have to get my certifications every couple of years.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well, I don't either at the college level, but that's another story. But
yeah, my wife's still doing the old public thing, but I'm pushing her to go back and get her master's now that I'm done with business school.
And you have more creative freedom. You have liberty to go into whatever book you feel like doing. So I have to tell you something sad, actually. I mean, at the college level, the liberal arts has been taking a lot of hits. And there's increasingly, not at the very best universities, so they will never take away a broad education from their students, because they know very well that to produce a well-rounded citizen and a human being who can engage with society on various levels, they need some humanities, right? No matter what your major is, if you want to have a fully engaged experience with the rest of the world, the humanities are very important. But what they're doing at a lot of places, including where I work, is they're de-emphasizing the humanities. So they're taking away courses like history, which is scary to me, because we already don't have enough knowledge of what's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
And they're taking away literature. At my college, my department is shrinking. The number of literature courses we teach has gone down significantly. When I say significantly, I'd say that we teach about a quarter of what we used to teach of literature classes. And this is not because of us, the professors, it's the administrative decisions that are being made. It's the state level decisions that are being made. So they're de-emphasizing literature and philosophy and history and all that sort of stuff. So where do we go for that? Well, I mean, there's way more. I'm actually able to talk to people about books more on YouTube than I am where I work now, which is sad to me, but that's where it's headed. So I mean, I can
Yeah,
talk about.
when I see that banned books list starting to get longer, I'm like,
Oh
why are
yeah.
you doing this? Yeah, and talk about like taking away history courses. Look, I know it sounds cliche, guys, but I'm a big believer in those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. So I think these things are absolutely foolish. But one of the main things when I started this channel, I was like, there are less and less people reading each year statistically in the States. So that's why I say that's what I wanted to target.
Right.
Just getting those people who used to be big readers and they're like, oh, well, I don't have to read anymore. Basically, I'll wait for the movie guy, trying to get that guy to commit to read the book first.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I targeted when I started this, because it's
Fantastic.
less emphasis being put on that. It's a scary thing to dinosaurs like us, I think.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think it has repercussions. And important ones. But not only are people reading less, but the average reading level is going down. It used to be, I can't remember exactly, but you can find studies on this, but it used to be like the average American could read at an adult could read at an 8th grade level. And now it's like 6th grade. I mean, it's going down, and that's not good, because I mean, this sounds a little highfalutin, but I really believe it. So to have a fully functioning democracy, you need an educated electorate. You need people to know what's going on in the world, and you need a literate population. So otherwise, democracy doesn't work very well,
And that just freaks me out, man, because we've got information at our fingertips like never before, and we're not using it. It drives me mad.
Irony. That's the irony. It's crazy that we have this thing called the internet, which should be absolutely, like, when the printing press was invented, in the late 15th century or whatever it was, that revolutionized a lot of things, because no longer did you have to have people handwriting manuscripts and all that. You could disseminate information at such a greater rate. We should have had something like that with the internet, where suddenly information available everywhere. But instead, what do we have? We have cat videos, porn, and misinformation. What I mean, this is an tragically abused and underused tool that we have, for sure.
It's a shame. It really is. I tell the time that, hey, we've got more information at our hands than ever before. We're not using it. Social media should have been the thing that brought us all closer, and it's made us further apart. It's just ironic. It's more ironic than anything the last 4 steps think about.
Yeah, how tribalized we are now. And here we are all connected, but we all are in our little tiny corners, in there are little echo chambers, hearing only what we want to hear. And it's a shame.
Maybe it's because we're a few generations removed, probably, from even most of our viewers. As I think about when I'm having a Zoom call with somebody, especially when I'm having a Zoom call from someone across the ocean, and I'm like, video call across the ocean for free, and it's a perfect quality. The audio is great. I'm like, this is the stuff we dreamed about as kids. This was incredible to us. And people today are like, I hate Verizon. It's like, what are you doing? What are you complaining about? So I think that us being able to think back to, like, for example, we were watching that movie last night, 8-Bit Christmas, with Doogie Howser. Neil Patrick Harris was telling us kids a story about how he got a Nintendo.
Okay.
And of course, I'm the target audience for this. My kid was really excited to watch it. And he laughs in one part where they're making a plan to do something in New York, and he has to look in an encyclopedia to look for a map. And I'm like, that's what it was like, my man. There was no, hey, let's pull up Waze on our phone and look up how to get there, So I think that showing them things like that are important, because then they realize, wow, we really are living in a special time,
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I lived in Nepal, out of grad school, I went there in 95. There was no way to talk to my family back here in the States, except I would have to go to a shop where they had access to international calls, and the quality was just, not very good. And I could do that maybe once every month or so, and it's just, things have changed radically since then.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember long distance calling. You guys remember that? Pay per minute for your phone calls?
Oh yeah. It was expensive too. It was very expensive. Yeah. No, the world has changed. That's for sure. And we
Look at us doing back in my day. We knew this was going to happen.
I know these old dinosaurs are going off on, back
psychedelic rock. And back in my day, we didn't have cell phones.
and we had to walk uphill both ways.
Both ways, 90 degrees, 5 feet of snow. Yeah. Actually, that was my folks that gave me that story. Yeah. So.
Oh, man. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff out there, But I also wanted to ask you too, a little topic change here, but we were talking about The Witcher before, and I have not watched the show. Is that something I should do? Do you think, having read the first 2 books and liked them? I played the video game once.
Well, it's following the books, not the game. And I think that upset a lot of people that just discovered the series from the game. But
show is following the books. Okay.
I'm always going to do the books. I mean, there's a couple of like nods, references to the game to make some people happy. But the usual stuff, all the casting pissed me off. The CGI doesn't look that way. Look, it didn't have the same budget that Wheel of Time does. And I got to think, if this is the comparison right now, I don't think you should be comparing Wheel of Time to Game of Thrones, because, I mean, we know at this point how big Game of Thrones got. But I think if you compare this to Witcher and Wheel of Times already has a better start. I think Witcher season 1 was really good, better than I expected. But yeah, there were some times where I looked at like, that costuming is terrible. It's budget problems. I think now that Netflix knows what a huge hit that was, you can just watch the trailer for season 2 and be like, yeah, everything looks better. The costuming, everything about it looks better. So I think so, especially if you like those first 2 books. There's some changes, but I was like, for the most part, like that was pretty faithful to a lot of those short stories, and the way they were able to kind of make them all work in one, cohesive season was actually pretty good. But it's all the way through Last Wish and Sword of Destiny. So there are still a couple. Like, I think there's a short story called Grain of Truth, which is basically like his version of Beauty and the Beast. That's going to be in this new season.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's something they're kind of pulling from everything, but yeah, they are going to try to go through all the books. So this is going to be the short stories that they left out of season 1, and then Blood of Elves this year. So, okay.
So if I read Blood of Elves, I'd be good to watch all the seasons that are out so far.
Right when Wheel of Time is ending, season 2 of Witcher is starting. So, or I guess it's dropping. They do theirs, it's not weekly. It's all one big drop. So that's my holiday plans.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds like something I should consider at least. When does the new Witcher season start?
17th, I think. I think it's the 17th, because the last episode of Wheel of Time's on Christmas Eve. But I think this is a week before. Yeah. So it's 17th. I think
I could sneak in Blood of Elves before that. Yeah.
That's a quick book. It's like 280 pages. For us, that's a quick book.
That's a short story for us.
Yeah. I mean, you read prologues from Erickson that are longer than this.
Yeah, it's true.
I think chapter 7 of Bone Hunters was longer than that book.
That's a great chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Cool. So speaking of what we might be reading next year, you're probably pretty scheduled, I would guess. So.
I've got some. I got a video coming out on Monday.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, of new series that I'm starting, and I'm calling it On Permanent Ink, because there's a lot of series that you make. You make these TV. I'm going to read this, but you find yourself being like, let's go ahead and push that. Let's go ahead and push that. But these are ones that I absolutely am going to start. Now I got to put the little asterisk on here. That doesn't mean I'm starting it and finishing it next year, but there are some new ones that I want to start. There are some authors that I've been putting off for a long time. Yeah. The one everybody knows about is Memory Started on Thorn by Tad Williams. I've never read Tad Williams.
Okay. That's the one your brother wants you to read, right?
Yes, it is. And it's the one that I said I'm going to lose either way, because if it's brilliant, he's going to be like, yeah, you're stupid for waiting this long. If I say it's not brilliant, he's going to be like, well, you're stupid. So, I mean, that's what brothers do, right? So that's a lose-lose for me. I was trying to see if I could get him to come on the channel and talk to me. He's like, no, I don't do camera stuff. So.
He won't do it. Oh, man. That I guarantee you that would actually do really, really well.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, come on. He's like, nope. So he's not even interested. But it would just be him calling me an idiot for 30 minutes. But I mean, I guess if that's what everybody wants to say, I mean, there's a lot of viewers out there, that's all they say about me anyway, just an idiot. So
people would definitely tune in for that, I'm afraid. So
but yeah, I wouldn't say it's as structured as this year was, because I mean, once the Malazan read along ends in June is when that ends, which it feels like forever I've been reading this, and it also feels like it just started. This last year doing this and working full time at the same time has really helped the year speed by just a little bit. But once that ends, it's like free for all. I'm not tying myself down to any of these crazy read-alongs. I don't regret doing it at all. And I'm happy that I brought a lot of new people to the series. A lot of people that have been putting it off for a long time, myself.
For sure.
So I'm happy for that. But after this, guys, it's going to be like, look, like we're doing with Memory Star and Thorn. Look, we're reading this book in January. If you want to read it, join us. It's not going to be a hey chapter by chapter kind of thing like we're doing with Malazan, because
Yeah.
you just have
Well,
so many people drop out, and then the discussion gets smaller and smaller. So
yeah, but you've done a great thing. I really do. I think that I was actually
that's what
talking to
Iskar told
AP.
me. Yeah, that I brought more people than he thinks even he has to the series. So that's awesome to
Exactly.
hear.
There's no doubt in my mind that you have. And I was talking to AP about how, well, we were talking about, I asked him once a while back, because, YouTube, BookTube didn't have it had some. So I don't want to disrespect the people who are out here, the pioneers, but there wasn't a ton of content on the Malazan, books until a couple years ago.
When I started first researching it, Iskar was the only one I found. That's how I found them.
Yeah, there are these tiny channels that are out there that have been at it for longer, but they didn't get a lot of traction, I think,
Right.
was part of it. But I think Iskar was the first one to really bring people together. And so he's done a great service, obviously.
Well, I saw in the foreword of The God Is Not Willing. Is that the new one?
Yeah.
I saw he did thank the Malazan booktubers. So I thought that was really cool of them.
I think that's beautiful. Yeah. The people on YouTube, he thanked us all. And that includes you, really, and what AP told me was, I think this is accurate, but don't quote me on it necessarily, but is that I think the book sales have gone up for Malazan. And I think that we probably have had some, you especially, but even Daniel Green interviewed Stephen Erickson. There's been, quite a lot of stuff, but this explosion of smaller channels that people who are like Malaz tubers and all of that. So it's been a great time for the Malazan series, I think, on YouTube. And I think we've had an impact. You can see the needle move and I think some of that you have to attribute to what we've been doing on BookTube. So, and you starting that read along, I think, was a big part of that.
I do know that I think Joe himself told me that I've sold more First Law books than his publisher did for him. So that was the coolest compliment I could have gotten.
That's very cool.
So, but yeah, I think with me is when I first started the channel, it was like, okay, I was doing the Wheel of Time stuff. It was before I even knew BookTube was a thing. This was just something I was doing to kind of help myself remember, because there's a long books. It's the first time I had gotten to a series that long. I hadn't read fantasy in years before I picked up Wheel of Time again. And thought, okay, I want to do this to kind of help myself remember. And then started getting I was like, whoa, video's got like 200 views. I was like, none of my stuff gets that many views. And that's when I realized it's a thing. So I started getting like a little bigger. I was like, okay, I want to do another series and see if it's just Wheel of Time or if it's me. And that's why I picked First Law, because I was like, this is the most amazing series I feel like no one is reading, So I still, all the time I get people, hey, you introduced me to First Law and I love it. It's one of my favorite series now and stuff. So that's to me, awesome. So happy.
Yeah. Well, you and I have kind of bonded over First Law too, because that was a series that I actually was a fan of before I knew anything about BookTube. And I kept up with everything Abercrombie. I haven't read his YA stuff.
I'm doing that next year, but I haven't done it yet either.
I might tag along then, who knows? But I mean, I love everything he wrote in the First Law world, so why not? But yeah, so I kept up with Abercrombie, and I even actually reread the original trilogy just before I started my channel. So
that's when I said I was going to do that, I was going to reread that in between Wheel of Time books at the time, because just remember how much I love that series. And I was like, oh, there's a sequel trilogy coming out. Well, it's been 7-8 years since I finished that series. I might as well do a reread, and I gladly did that reread.
Yeah, I think I want to reread the standalones next, because I have that itch. I love Abercrombie. He's a top 5 author for me, and I have that itch right now. I want to get back into that world, because we finished Age of Madness, and I loved Age of Madness. It's my favorite First Law stuff, and I have a feeling it's going to be a while before we see more.
That's why I said I want to do this Shattered Sea in 2022. So I'm going to be itching for some new Abercrombie. The same with like Jim Butcher. I'm not getting a new Dresden Files. It's the first time I've had to wait for Dresden Files, so I'm going to check out his Codex Alera series, things like that. So
cool, yeah.
Some of these authors I just know I'm going to be missing. I want to check out some of their other series now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I got to catch up with, like I said before, I'm 4 books in, finished the Summer Night, and I want to keep going. I was a little lukewarm, to be honest with you, when I started Dresden Files. The only reason I kept going was because of viewers who were
Telling you it
like,
gets better, right?
yeah, exactly. They were just the fans of that series were, first of all, they were really nice. They were very, very nice.
Oh,
And
I want that in writing.
it, at least on my videos. Okay, so I had some complaints, I had some issues, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, maybe, but just keep going, because it gets better." I was encouraged by. I thought these people are A, they're really nice, and B, they really love this series. I could
Yeah,
see that.
it's a
So
passionate fan
I
base. It
gotta
is.
see. I gotta see why. I gotta figure out why. What do these people see here? Because I didn't get it really with the first couple of books, but now that I'm 4 books in, I'm thinking I think I know why.
Mm.
So I'm looking forward to continuing in Dresden
I'm
Files.
a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and of course, Hellblazer with John Constantine, the comics. And I felt like it is just a mashup of those two things. It's Angel, but John Constantine as in the lead. And I'm just like, this is great with a lot more humor, obviously. And he drinks Coke instead of smoke cigarettes, nonstop. But
Right.
yeah, it's one of those things like you always feel like, oh, that's just a line that fans tell you, oh, he does get better. It legitimately gets better. It's wild. And it's amazing how he's able to just keep topping himself and getting better. And it's one of those worlds where I tell people, you don't have to take it too seriously, but if you want to, you can, because it's really is a layered world when you really think about it. The way he does his characters is so great. Like they'll disappear for a book or two because it's like, it's kind of how real life works. People come in and out of your life back and forth and things like that. And it's done so well. He's got some of my favorite characters ever. Michael Carpenter is like just awesome. I love him.
I love Michael. Of course, I've only met
Seen
him
him once.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's why I love Great Peril so much. A lot of people told me it doesn't get good to book 4. For me, it started really getting good at book 3 because, again, very Buffy feeling with the vampires and stuff. And then Michael Carpenter was just awesome. I loved him.
Yeah, he was great. Right from the beginning of that book, it's him and Harry in the car.
Yeah.
And on the way to the hospital. And that scene was, I think, one of the best scenes I've read so far in the series.
It's like a wizard and a Templar knight walk into a hospital. It's on fire. Yeah, sounds like a good one.
Yep. It's just a great scene. And the dynamic between Harry and Michael Carpenter is what sold me.
And it only gets better. It really only gets better. And I said, I felt like that was a line when I first started. And I was like, I'll be damned if each book doesn't just keep. I think up until at least, like, for me, book 15 is like one of my favorite in the whole series. So I was just like, wow, how does he continue to keep doing this? So yeah, I can't wait I think that once you finish Malazan, if you want to just buckle down those, you could. I mean, I did 2 a month while I was reading Wheel of Time. So I think you could probably fly through those in a day or 2. They're quick.
I'm gonna prioritize Dark Tower when I'm done with Malazan. Let's see. I mean, I'll only have 3 more, although I know a lot of people tell me, what's your opinion on this, Mike? A lot of people have told me, oh, you have to read this and this and this book as well. And don't forget these short stories. And do I just read straight through the 7?
It's about Dark Tower, right? Okay.
Dark Tower, yeah.
Here's the thing about Dark Tower. It's not the MCU, guys. You don't have to read anything else to understand it. Okay. Only thing I will tell people is Salem's Lot is one of Stephen King's greatest books. Okay. Without a doubt. One of the greatest vampire books ever. And book 5 of Dark Tower spoils the shit out of that book. And you'll regret it, I think. So you don't have to read anything, but it kind of helps a little bit. Like the villain of Dark Tower is, also in The Stand. So I think that, yeah, sure. If you want to read those 2 books, it'll add depth to it. But again, you don't have to. You don't have to.
So Salem's Lot, if I were to read it, it would be after Wizard and Glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a very prevalent character from that shows up in Dark Tower. Okay. And it's like, okay, here, I'm going to tell you everything that happened in Salem's Lot, to kind of catch people up who did not read Salem's Lot. And it'll just tell you everything.
Okay.
So again, it'll tell you everything to where you don't need to know. You just like, okay, cool. This is good backstory for this character. But I think in hindsight, if you want to go back and read Salem's Lot, you'll be disappointed that you know everything.
Oh, huh.
So it's kind of a personal decision.
I think I'm somebody who's actually not that upset about spoilers. Yeah. So I probably would be fine with it, but it almost sounds like he should have made Salem's Lot part of the Dark Tower series then.
Almost. And that's the biggest multiverse connection like ever is in that book. So
All right. Well, and I do want to read The Stand. That's what I've been saying consistently is The Stand after Dark Tower. So
I think you will eat up The Stand. That's one of the best character books of all time. It has like 60 characters and you love all of them. You love or hate all of them. You don't have any indifference to any character in that book. It's just incredible character work.
Okay. Wow. Well, speaking of incredible character work, you read the Farseer Trilogy. And I know it wasn't like your favorite read of the year. And I know that it got a little tedious for you by book 3, I think.
Everybody warned me that Farseer, don't judge the Realm of the Elderlings off Farseer. So I did that. But I think when I loved book 1 and 2, I kind of been like, oh, you guys are crazy. This is great. And then book 3 was just like, wow, we're walking through the snow again. We're talking about hunting. Oh, now we're actually hunting, but we're talking about going hunting. It's like, oh my God, quit making tea. And it was overly long. Beautiful writer. I mean, one of the best writers I've seen. I mean, just incredible. And what I tell people is I think people who love like stuff like Name of the Wind, where it's just beautiful writing.
Yeah.
Not a lot's really happening with the plot. Yeah. That book will be right up your alley. For me, it's like you could be the most beautiful writer in the world. If I don't care about your characters, I don't know what's going on. Besides Fitz in that book, I was like, I don't really care about anybody, what's going on right now. And it was a drag, but
you must have liked Night Eyes. You must have liked Night Eyes.
Well, I mean, I've got a heart. I mean, who doesn't love Night Eyes, I was like, what I think makes him better than a lot of other, like I think about Storm from Faithful and the Fallen. And I'm like, okay, this is like Storm, but I can hear this one talk, so it makes it even better, So sure. I'm going to be doing live ship next year probably. So
that's what where I was going with this.
Yeah, I'm going to continue. Everybody told me, I think Petrick, our guy Petrick, is a very big fan of Realm of the Elderlings, and he's the same way. He could not stand Assassin's Quest, so I felt kind of okay when I read his review of that. So.
That's validating. Then no. When I read it. For me, I read Farseer a while back, and for me, it put Hobbes somewhere in like my top 15 or so. And then I read last year. What was it? Last year or this year? I can't remember.
They all bleed together at this point.
I know it's the age, So, but I read Live Ship Traders, and wow, that was like went from top 15 to top 3.
Really? Okay.
To top 3. I mean, for me, it was that good.
KP told me you guys are going to be doing a read through of that.
Yeah. So AP and I are intending to do not all at once. We're not going to go straight through the Realm of the Elderlings. We're going to do like Farseer, and then we're going to read some other stuff. Yeah. And then we're going to do Live Ship, and then some other stuff.
I'm doing. Yeah.
So we won't even get it done in a year.
But you guys will still probably pass me.
Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, so we're doing that. I want to tag along with him reading Janny Wirtz, the Wars of Light and Shadow. And I have not read her stuff before. She also co-wrote with Raymond Feist. The first book is the Daughter of the Empire, I think. So it's the Empire Trilogy or something.
I had never heard of this author until AMP and I talked last week.
Oh, okay.
So he told me all about it. But now I'm like, I see it everywhere. It's weird. You don't hear about an author and then you see it everywhere after that.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. So I'm going to read Janny Wirtz, Wars of Light and Shadow next year. I want to read David Gemmell.
Great covers.
Have you read Gemmell?
Gemmell, I haven't read Gemmell. The thing was with Gemmell is it was an author I really didn't hear a ton about until I started reading John Gwynne. How much I like that. Everybody's like, you got to read Gemmell because John Gwynne's like primary influence. Yeah. I have Legend. I have a whole Drenai series. So
okay, yeah. So AP and I will probably early-ish in the year we'll do Gemmell as well. Probably even before we start with Hobbes.
Are you guys doing Drenai? Or are you doing the rig? I can't rig something.
I don't know. I think it's that though. We're starting with Legend.
Okay.
So, that first trilogy, I guess it's a trilogy.
I look forward to hearing what you guys think.
Yeah. No, that'll be fun. I know AP's read it before, I think. So he's read almost everything. So
pretty much, yeah, I think so. Like when he told me that we were talking about Wheel of Time when we talked about nothing. He told me like, okay, I read this much in the in the 90s, and then I stopped, and then I was going to pick up from there. I tried to resume from there. I just decided to start over, and so he's like, so I read the whole series in a month. I'm like, shit, took me a year.
I know he can read very fast. Very fast. He's incredible. Yeah, I watched that whole thing. By the way, I got except for I think I have I had to watch it in installments.
Sure.
So your chat with AP. Yeah. I think I have 10 minutes left on it. I got to the part where he's like, "Oh, can you edit this out? I'm going to tell you a story." And then you're like, "Well, I could," but he's like, "Okay, I'll tell you afterwards. It'll be really quick." And then I think you guys probably talked for another hour and a half after.
That's how people. It was 3 hours, but we actually talked for 4.5.
Yeah.
I
So
only recorded 3 of them. So
his quick story turned into another hour and a half.
yeah. He's like all apologetic, and I'm like, man, I don't mind. I'll tell you if I got to go. I'm not doing this because I don't have these discussions with people I don't want to have them with, you know?
Right.
So I mean,
Right.
trust me, it's so hard. I think that's the whole reason I did this. When I went back to business school and I was doing it all from home and watching the kids, you know, that's was my full-time job basically, was school. So I had no actual adult interaction at all. I had, you know, 2 kids who weren't real good at conversation at that age. So I was like, I want other adults to talk to. And that's kind of why I really started doing this. So yeah. I get on with you or with AP. As long as you guys want to talk, I'm there, you know?
Yeah, no, and he's brilliant too. I mean, he's a lot of fun, and he's a well of fantasy knowledge. So
I mean, even though he's wrong about Man of Steel, I'll let him have his opinion, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fun too, because all you have to do to trigger a rant is just say Man of Steel.
I know. I look forward to the 3,000 word comment he's going to leave on this video now.
About Man
but I would
Steel.
expect no less, and I love him for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he's just brilliant. But and a lot of fun. But yeah. By the way, Man of Steel, I can't say I loved the film, but what a soundtrack. I mean, I would watch it again just for the soundtrack. I guess I could listen to the soundtrack, but that was the one thing AP and I disagreed about too, sort of, when we talked about Dune. Was I thought Hans Zimmer's soundtrack to Dune was great. I loved it.
I didn't like it at first. When me and Chris Verrocchio did our review of it, I was like, I expected more from Hans Zimmer. I don't know what it was. I was like, maybe it was a theater sound, like it was too loud and stuff.
Well,
but I'm a Dune fan. So
yeah.
I started listening to it at home, and now I can't get it out of my head. Like Ripples in the Sand is like permanently stuck in my head now. And again, it's Hans Zimmer. I think he's pretty automatic, really. I know a lot of people give him crap about the womp thing that he basically made popular, but guy's gifted. I think besides John Williams, he might be like one of the best maybe movie composer of all time. So
I actually sort of like him better than John Williams myself.
Whoa.
Yeah, hot take, I guess, right?
Nice.
But no, I thought the music was great. I do suspect that a lot of people had issues with the soundtrack because of theaters. And
sometimes it was loud and you couldn't hear what they were saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I watched it on HBO Max and I didn't have that problem at all. So I was like, okay, it might have just been my theater.
I had so many people leave comments like that, and because we talked about it, and then people were like, yeah, I watched it twice. The second time I loved the soundtrack because I wasn't having my ears blasted off in the movie theater, where for whatever reason they think, you know, the movie theater experience involves ruining your eardrums.
Yeah, ruining your ears, like a Metallica concert or something.
Yeah, no, I don't get that. I mean, I actually felt my teeth vibrating, you know.
Felt my rib cage rattle a couple of times.
Yeah. What is that? I don't need that. So, but anyway, yeah. So I like the soundtrack. I think he liked it better when he watched it on a television. So
it's a good conversation. What do you listen to any music while you read?
Not while I read. I have to have like a fan on or some ambient noise.
Okay, some white noise. Yeah,
white noise, exactly. Not while I read. So when I write, though, it's a little weird. So I write the first like draft when I get stuff out, just like the raw story. I don't want any distractions. I want just the fan noise.
Silence.
But when I go back and I edit, then I listen to music. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm that way, but I like to hear music while I'm editing. I don't like to hear it while I'm reading, and I don't like to hear it when I'm putting down the words on the page for the first time. But
I like to listen to movie soundtracks and things like that a lot while I read.
Yeah.
But if it's something like Malazan where I really got to concentrate, I don't want any music on because I'll just start thinking about that movie that I'm hearing the music from. So that's one of the exceptions. So really, I guess it just depends on what difficulty level I'm reading. But I love to. But something like Malazan, though, like I have to have complete silence. I can't hear the kids, anything like that. So I get my best Malazan reading done, believe it or not, at the office when I like lunch breaks and stuff. I can flow through like 50 pages on, 50 pages on a Malazan book is like that's a lot. You know?
That's a lot.
That's the funniest thing is like most books I'll be like, oh yeah, I read like 100 pages in one sitting and no big deal. I'll read Malazan for like an hour and a half. I'm like, I read 24 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's weird how that works.
Exactly. Yeah. But then you read another book and you're like, wow, this is fast, right?
Dude, after you, whatever book you read after Malazan book, you're gonna feel like a genius. I think your mind's just working at a higher level because anything I read after I read a Malazan book, I'm like, I just flew through that in like a day, wild, you know. So
Yeah, yeah. A couple other writers I want to try, and a lot of my viewers think I'm gonna love, who might be challenging as well, would be R. Scott Baker.
yeah,
And,
I'm letting the brain reset after Malazan before I do Baker, before I do Alistair Reynolds, before I do Gene Wolfe.
Gene
Any of
Wolfe
those
is the other one. Yeah.
heavy ones, I'm like, I'm gonna let the brain reset and tackle those like in 2023.
Yeah.
Know, so
Yeah. I do want to get to Baker, at least try the first trilogy.
yeah,
That
Prince of
starts
Nothing is
with,
what I have.
yeah, Prince of Nothing. And then I also want to try Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. I hear so much, and I don't.
Yeah, viewer of mine, Dalton, awesome guy, sent me that Folio Society edition of Book of the New
Yeah.
Sun. It's just incredible, and I'm like, well, God, I want to read this now, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I need to be in a proper headspace because from what I've been told about that series is
Heavy.
where Malazan can be confusing. Book of the New Sun's like, I know you're confused. Here's some more. Yeah. So.
Well, you've had plenty of practice at least. Then.
Yeah, basically. So.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, so that's kind of, those are some of the things I'm planning for next year. So it's going to be a good year. I have a feeling, good reading year. So
what are some things that if you had to go like, I know we're going to start doing all our end of the year content soon, you know, our best books of the year and things like that. Have you started thinking about these things yet? Like your best books of the year?
I have, yeah. I'm not going to commit myself to a set number. Like It's not going to be best 5 or best 10. It's going to be, these are my favorite books of the year. And however,
no, man, you got to put the word top 10 in the title to get them viewed.
Yeah.
The algorithm. So, I've started thinking about it. And I was like, this year, I feel like I had an easier time making like my 10 disappointments than I did like my top 10 books. Yeah. So, and I'm not that person, I don't really think, but I think with me, what makes it hard is I've been doing a lot of rereads, Michael Crichton, Stephen King, stuff like that. Stuff that's rereads, I don't count. You know, so that thins the field a little bit. But I mean, I've read over 70 books this year, so I got.
Oh, that's impressive! Wow. Yeah. No, so Malazan Book of the Fallen is a reread for me. So if I go by your rule, that makes life easier for me anyway, because I could just fill the whole video with Malazan books, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, but I don't know. I am also reading Esselmont's books for the first time, novels of the Malazan Empire, and loving them. And I do feel, if you ever wanted to, we talked about this before, but I think you would enjoy them if you ever decided to read novels of the Malazan Empire. It fills out some storylines that I think you would enjoy. Plus, it's more along the lines of what I think you expect when you come to a fantasy series, whereas Erickson throws a lot of, a lot of new stuff at you because he doesn't do things the way everyone else does things, so.
Yeah, AP gave me the hard sell on some Esselmont stuff. So
yeah, good.
He's good for that.
Oh yeah. And of course, AP is the advanced reader for both of them. So he knows them both really well. So, but yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
So do you ever get suggestions from readers to read stuff that you feel like might be a little bit outside of your wheelhouse and you're just so curious about it, you've considered doing it?
Yeah. So for example, you've started reading some manga and I've never read manga before. We were both comic book fans. I grew up in the 70s and 80s collecting comics. So I'm a classic comic book fan, American comic books, that is, but I have never tried manga before. And I've heard people say, oh, you should try, Berserk, or you should try the Vinland Saga. Because I like Viking stuff.
Yeah, that's my next one after I finish Berserk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So someday I might take it's not like they're lengthy or hard to read either, but I should try manga, don't you think?
I think so. If you can get past the, reading right to left, if you can get past that. AP said that's just too much of a roadblock for him.
Yeah, I saw him say that. Yeah. I think I'll be fine.
I can do it as long as I'm not like reading 2 comics at once. I can't be like reading a manga and then flip to an American comic because I'll be all right. Because I tried doing that while I was going to reread. God, it's the Neil Gaiman book. Big Neil Gaiman one that they're doing right now. Oh my God,
not American.
One of my favorite. Sandman. Thank you.
Oh, the Sandman, of course. Yeah.
Sandman. I was trying to do my reread of that at the same time I was reading some manga, and I was like, okay, I'm reading everything right to left now. Why is it not making sense? So it's tough to train train your brain like that. But I've started getting, a lot of recommendations of authors. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to do that one. So I found myself with some extra time in November. So I put up that poll of, some books that here's some like, one-off books or book ones maybe that I might want to try. I don't want to start another like 12 book series, guys. So I put, here's 5 that I get recommended a lot, you guys voted on it. Right. And they picked Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of my most pleasant surprises of the year.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it.
As someone who loves Anne Rice, I was just kind of blown away. It's the first time in probably 20 years I've read a vampire book that I didn't despise. So it's
well, he took the vampire genre back from all the teeny boppers,
taking it back for us adults. It's very excited. So he's got some Joe Abercrombie level cursing in that book. So I think that
doesn't really bother me at all.
No, I love. Again, you're a big First Law guy. I know that swearing isn't going to bother you, but actually we're like talking, and he might be coming on the channel pretty soon. So
that's so cool. Yeah. I know. I heard you say that you sent a message that didn't get.
He messaged me on Instagram and gave me his personal email. So I don't know if someone got in touch with him, and or if he saw it. I don't even know. So
that's exciting.
That's cool if he saw it. So.
Well, it's on my radar now after hearing you talk about it like that. And
it's hard for me to say, hey, if you got some extra time, here's this 850-page book. But that's nothing to men like us, right?
Right. Yeah. We like
appetizer.
Yeah.
I like thick books.
Very cool. Well, Mike, I know you're a busy guy and you got a family and all that stuff. So I really appreciate. What's that?
You want
family?
You want them? Sure. I'll send them over.
Mine is enough.
That'll be less for me to do over Christmas. It's great. I haven't finished. I haven't started Christmas shopping yet. I'm usually done by now. So
I know I have to get going on that myself. I'm in trouble.
So I wish you the most success with Dear Dr. Fantasy. I think I know that you have told me in the past, might have been on camera, might have been off, saying like some of the stuff that you enjoy doing the most on BookTube is conversations,
Absolutely.
like this.
Yeah.
And I came up in podcasting, so I always had someone to bounce these things off of. So this kind of helps me get those demons out. What I said is, I'll listen to Joe Rogan podcast every once in a while. I say, I always love that he doesn't really have like a set of topics. He just, let's turn on the microphones and see where the conversation leads us. So that's kind of what made me want to start doing it. So I get people, that's a great idea. Do you mind if I do it? I'm like, I don't own the rights to just talking about whatever you want to talk about. Of course, it's okay. But I always appreciate that you'll let me know, hey, is it okay if I do this? Yes, it's absolutely always okay.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. I'm excited to try it out myself. And there's just so many great people to talk to, but I'm very, very proud and happy that you were my first guest here on Dear Dr. Fantasy, and appropriately your suggestion for the title. I think that your suggestion for the title is going to make this succeed all by itself.
I tell you, man, I got to move from finance into marketing. I really got to. I think so.
I have a feeling you'd be pretty good at it, actually.
I minored in marketing actually in business school inadvertently because it was just like, I didn't know I was going to take 6 marketing courses, so I was like, that's I'm minoring in this.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you actually seriously ever do it, one of the things you have to put on your resume is that you have a YouTube channel with 60 whatever thousand or whatever it's going to be, 100,000, whatever you have at that point. You have to put that on your resume. And I tell you what, I have a feeling you would get snapped up as a marketer.
I tell you, the secret is the company I work for, they have this program where after you're there for a certain amount of time, they'll let you switch to another job that you might not have experience in if you want to do that.
Wow.
And I've been thinking about making the move to HR. HR was something I got really interested in college, but knowing how much I like marketing, I'm like, okay, well, corporate communications, that sounds like something I could be interested in. So lots of opportunities there, but it's scary to change careers in your 40s, It's scary, but hey, it is what it is. But you want to break the news? Who's your guest? Who's your second guest for this show yet?
My second guest is going to be Joanna, actually.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, I've actually asked her if she would be able to appear in early January, and she said yes. So I'm really excited to have her on the channel, and I have a long wish list of people that I haven't yet contacted, but I did get Joanna to agree to do episode 2.
I try to keep mine about 2 or 3 ahead, just so I know if they're interested first, and then because I would want a month. So not that you asked, but I'm having Sarah on in December.
Sweet.
obviously,
Oh, that'd be
and
great. I will definitely tune in for that.
Mark from Slowly Read is going to be on in January. And I
Nice.
can't
Yeah,
wait for
he's
that one
great.
because
He is
I'll be
great.
reading a book and be like, oh wow, this is pretty dark, and he'll be like, that's like PG. So that guy, that's the guy I go to when I want to know about some dark stuff. And he's actually the one that encouraged me to read Empire of the Vampire. So
Oh, cool. Yeah, I call him my grim dark guru. So
yeah, he's it. So I'm excited for both of those conversations. So
yeah.
I love AP, and I know you love AP, but I was like, I hope your second guest isn't AP. You guys talk every week.
I know we talk a lot, but I want to have him, if I ever get anywhere publishing my books, I want to have conversations with him around that. So I want to
Well,
say,
I'm never going to disparage conversations with AP. Yeah, I hope he doesn't
yeah,
take that personally. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So I will definitely, he will, of course, I will be asking him to appear on Dear Dr. Fantasy. There's no way I wouldn't want him on this, but
Ask him about Man of Steel.
Oh God. We already had during my 10,000 subscriber celebration thing, we had our Man of Steel conversation. So yeah.
Wild. The thing is like he had mentioned when we talked about Memories of Ice that he wanted to talk about Man of Steel, and so I was like, look, we have different opinions on it, but I was definitely going to give him that outlet to do it. So that's why I made sure I brought it up when we talked.
No, I mean, I would do it again too. Heck, why not? So.
I'm all about difference of opinion. I think it's great. Is anybody mad? Nope. No table flipping. That's just the way we do it.
Tables are all still upright. That's good. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this for me. And it's such an honor to have you on the channel at all. And I'm just grateful for our friendship that we have formed.
Likewise. And anytime, I never have any problems making some time to come on here.
Awesome. I'm sure we will find some more excuses then in the future.
All right, man.
Take care.
Have a good weekend.
All right. You too.